This conference will now be recorded.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, okay. And the session is recorded. And now, okay, before we jump into a really important concept, it is important to understand Splunk components, because these are were really important, which I had already given you the idea, right? What are the Splunk components? See here, first one is forwarders, second would be indexers, third would be search heads, right? Indexer, forwarder, and search heads. Now, apart from this, we also have license master, cluster master, deployment server, and deployer. Okay, so license master, okay, license master, and next would be uh, uh, this is for license master, cluster master. Number 5 would be cluster master. 6 would be deployment server. 7 would be deployer. Deployment server and deployer. Okay, so these are basically the what do you call, the Splunk components, the main 7 Splunk components. Okay, so it's important to know everything. That is why I'm trying to give you the idea. Now, what is forwarder? We know forwarders are basically used to forward the data from Splunk server. That means from one Splunk forwarder to another Splunk forwarder, we use forwarders basically to receive or to send the data. Now, indexer is used to store the data. Search it is used to search the data. Okay, license master, basically licensing is used to have control on a daily volume. There is a specific daily volume which will be given to you based on your environment. So license master will help us to track that daily data limit, daily data volume limit. That is license master. Now, cluster master, basically right, cluster. What is cluster? Clustering will be coming into picture when you have the high availability of data, when you have the more data basically. So clustering will be coming into picture when you have the high availability of data. Okay, so that is nothing but clustering. So here in Splunk, when you talk about cluster master, okay, when you talk about cluster master, right, there are two types of clusters, right? Search head clustering and indexer clustering. Okay, search head clustering, indexer clustering. Maybe today more we will talk about theoretically to understand these concepts, and then we go do practical thing also. Don't worry about it. So but at the moment, before we do practically, you should understand what it is basically. That is why we talk about more today theoretically, right? So now uh, this is the uh, you know clustering, indexer clustering and searcher clustering. That is cluster master. Now, deployment server. What is a deployment server? Basically, deployment server is used to manage the Splunk components. That means let's say if you have 5 or 6 forwarders in your environment, if in case you want to send the data to another Splunk component or something, right, you don't need to go to every forwarder and send the data. You can take the help of deployment server and send it. How you will do that, I will show you. Don't worry about it. But at the moment, just understand Deployment server is used to manage the Splunk components, whereas deployer is used to deployer is used to send the apps and configuration files. Deployer is used to send the apps and configuration files to other search head members. Okay, in search head clustering, there are some search head members. I will show you that as well. So deployer is used to send apps and configuration files to the other search head members. Okay, so this is about the Splunk components. Okay, now as I said, in forwarders, basically there are three types of forwarders. Okay, universal forwarder, heavy forwarder, and lighter forwarder. Universal forwarder, heavy forwarder, and lighter forwarder. So here types of forwarders. Types of What are they? Universal forwarder, heavy forwarder, universal forwarder, heavy forwarder, and lighter forwarder. Lighter forwarder. However, in Splunk, you don't use lighter forwarder anywhere. Okay, we don't use lighter forwarder. That is why majorly whenever you talk about Splunk forwarders, you talk about only two. They are universal forwarder and heavy forwarder. Okay, so these are Splunk forwarders basically. Okay, now it is very important to understand what is universal forwarder and what is heavy forwarder, and what is the difference between these two, universal and heavy forwarders. So we should try and understand the difference now between these two forwarders. Okay, universal forwarder and heavy forwarder. Okay, so let me, I think sharing is gone. Let me share my screen here. Let's see the difference between universal forwarder and heavy forwarder. Why do we use that? Okay, just follow this. If you find some time for yourself, I would recommend you to write this with pen and paper so that you remember this is something important concept. Okay, so universal forwarder, lighter forwarder, and heavy forwarder. As I said, lighter forwarder will not be used anywhere, only universal and heavy forwarder we will be working on. So now let's understand the difference between these two. The first difference, you can say that it's a lighter component. Universal forwarder is a lighter component, whereas heavy forwarder It is basically heavy and it's rarely used agent. Okay, a rarely used agent. And it is a separate installation package, that is universal folder software is a separate installation package. What is it means, I will show you when we install. And also you have to remember the process of installing Splunk, the process of installing universal folder is the same process. Okay, you will understand when we do it. So this is something really important, guys. That's why I'm writing it for you. I mean, I'm just showing so that you can you know have it. This is one concept that we will be learning and preparing for interviews as well. Frequently asked question. Now, second thing, if you see, sometimes parsing is available at the time of structured only. That means uh, I told you in the first class parsing and indexing, right? So parsing is available sometimes, not all the time. But in heavy forwarder, parsing is available all the time. Parsing is available all the time. So that is the difference. Now, routing and indexing is not possible here. Okay, routing and indexing is not possible. Why it is not possible? Because whenever you are sending the data using the universal folders, routing it's not possible. Why it is will again show you that also what exactly it means. Okay, hey, one request here, Henry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, could you do the fee part, please? Payment to Keiko. Keiko, you can send. He'll send it to me. Is that fine?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Just want to remind you. Yeah. Okay. No problem. So,
Aquarita.
sorry.
Not you. No, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Please send it to Keiko. He'll send it to me because he has my number. Okay.
Okay.
I would request you to please
Aquario.
do it.
Okay. Okay.
Do it today, if possible. Okay. No problem. Now the separate software installation which fits here. Okay. To any of the operating systems, and in Splunk of heavy forwarder, Splunk Enterprise installation which fits to a popular operating systems. This is the difference. Okay, so why I'm giving you this is because this is really important even in interviews also. This is you can expect this question. They will ask you, can you define or can you tell me what is the difference between universal forwarder and heavy forwarder? So this is the difference. Now one more last thing that you can see here is fifth point, no license required. In case if you are working on universal forwarder, you don't need license, but for heavy forwarder you need license. Okay, just remember this, guys. Reason I am giving you this because see here, these are the Splunk components. Okay, these are the Splunk components which we have been talking about. And see, these are the Splunk components. And also the difference, there are two types of forwarders I said. So they are universal forwarder, heavy forwarder. However, lighter forwarder is also there. We are not using it anywhere. The difference between universal forwarder and heavy forwarder, what is difference, we have just discussed about it. Now let's get into something which is really important apart from the Splunk components. Just give me a minute. Um, okay, so I was talking about the license master, right? So why licensing is important, let's understand a little bit about it. Okay, so let's understand a little bit about it. Before we go into that, let me just share my screen. Licensing, I think I have the document. One second, guys. Okay, now I'm sharing it. All right, just see here. Okay, before we talk about licensing, it's important to know what is the hardware requirement of Splunk. This is one more thing we should know. Okay, this is a standard thing. Okay, like more core, the better for search heads, 12 to 64-bit version, depending on the size of the deployment. Okay, so you can actually, what you can do, just go to Splunk document also, you can check these things. Okay, you get it. But reason I'm telling you here is to understand the standard process. The more IOPS, whenever you discuss about data here, we talk about IOPS, we measure it in IOPS. Storage disk is recommended, and 12 to 64-bit GB RAM depending upon the size of the deployment. Okay, so I mean, whenever you talk about Linux, and also you will understand more about this. So this is just for your information. If someone asks you what are the hardware requirements of Splunk, you can just have this handy, and you can talk about it. Now, one more concept, what happens in the single instance? Okay, in some other scenarios, they'll give you single instance in the sense it is your environment basically. Okay, if it is single instance, what is the hardware requirement? Again, you see here, Intel 64-bit 84 architecture with the minimum 2 CPUs and each CPU at least 62 heads core. 12 GB RAM is enough, 1 GB Ethernet, and 64-bit Linux, okay, or a Windows. Disk size should be minimum 800 to 1200 IOPS. Okay, so same as single instance. So why I'm talking about this is, anyway, I'm going to show you everything for you, but theoretically it's really important to know these concepts before we get into actual practical thing, whatever. Right, so this is about single instance. In case if you have single instance for Splunk, uh, this is how you actually talk about the hardware requirements of Splunk. All right, now why we are learning all these is because whenever you talk about licensing, you should know what is your license limit. Now, how do you know this license limit? This license limit will be given to you by your customer. For example, let's say you're working for Walmart, or if you're working for a Citibank, okay, or any of the clients that you're working. Every client has different requirement. Okay, so they will give you, okay, I will give you this limit, like for example 1 TB, the entire license limit. Per day you will get 500 GB or something. It depends. That's why we use license master. Now in the same environment, what kind of size that you need for such head? Such head should be with this criteria: less hard disk but more CPU power. Intel 64-bit 84/6 architecture with minimum of 4 CPUs and each CPU at least 2 HS core. One core per active users. All right. So now forwarders, Intel 64-bit, same thing. I mean, almost same size. You can have forwarders and such. Say, don't add underperforming devices to it. That means, what is this means? In case if you have any forwarder or any of the servers for that matter, if it's not performing well, that means is there any server issue, or data connectivity issue, whatever the kind of issue that you see, right? So let's not add that particular server to the environment. That's what they're trying to say. Okay, so don't add the underperforming devices to it. Whichever you feel this may create a problem to the environment, this server may create problem to the environment, it is recommended not to add that. Okay, so that is how you can basically see what kind of environment that you need. Okay, so all these guys depending on your customer's requirement. Okay, you may ask the question like is it the same kind of size of forwarders or search heads that I can use everywhere? I would say no. As I said, uh, this is an average sort of thing. Depending on the environment, you can change, I mean, you cannot change it. They will give you what kind of data analysis that you have to do, and what what kind of environment that you need, and every information will be given to you. Don't worry about it. Okay, so this is how basically little things about the hardware requirements. What are the hardware requirements for Splunk? Now, if you see here, the licensing, okay, licensing is a huge concept. Licensing is very important in Splunk. Okay, see here, licensing based on the data ingested per day. Splunk free license 500 MB, Splunk developer license 10 GB per day, Splunk enterprise license. Okay, now as I said, licensing always depending on your environment, guys. Remember this always. Okay, based on the data you ingest per day. For example, as I said, in couple of few customers, like any of the banking customers, they want you to ingest certain amount of data every day. There could be a limit, and another customer want you to do a different process. So it depends on the customer's requirement, and always licensing is based on the data ingested per day. Okay, now the Splunk free license would be 500 MB per day, Splunk developer license would be 10 GB per day, Splunk enterprise license. Now, and one more thing, I just want to let you know that anything you want about licensing, and for anything for that matter, you can actually refer our Splunk document at any time. Okay, so that will really give you a better idea how licensing works with Splunk. So now, first, you should understand what is licensing. Okay, I already told you, like licensing basically used to have control, have the control on the daily data volume limit. Okay, so licensing used to have the control on the daily data volume limit, and it is used to track the data basically. Okay, per day how much you are using, what is your license limit, are you going to cross the limit, or if in case you're going to cross it, what happens is you will get warnings in Splunk. Okay, there are 5 warnings. Okay, so in case if you still continuing ingesting the data even after your warnings, what happens is your search will be blocked. That means normally in, I have told you that there is a search and reporting app where you search for data. Yesterday we were adding the data, right? So there you cannot search the data. Actually, you can't search the logs. Your search will be blocked in case you exceed your license. Okay, so that is what Splunk licensing is. Okay, so that's how we use licensing. In licensing there are different types of licensing also we have. Okay, again this is also I have come across in the interviews also, that people are asking define license, I mean talk about Splunk licensing. Okay, at that point of time you should talk about all these. Okay, licensing. And also in Splunk you have different license types. Okay, what are the different license types? 1 minute. Licensing types you have in Splunk, I said, right? So these are the licensing types. There you go. Just to let you know, these are the licensing types in Splunk. Okay, I'll read out for you. Splunk enterprise license, no Ethernet license, enterprise trail license, sales trail license, dev test license, free license, forward license, beta license, license for the search heads in different environments you have here. Okay, can anyone read out for me types of licenses? Henry, can I request you to please read out all the types of licenses that we have?
Types of Splunk software licenses. Splunk enterprise licenses. No enforcement license.
Yeah,
Enterprise trial license. Sales
correct.
trial license.
Yeah,
Develop test
test
license.
license, correct.
Free license. Forward license. Beta license. Licenses for search heads. Into bracket for distributor search. Licenses for search head cluster members. Licenses for indexer cluster nodes.
Yeah,
Into bracket for index replication.
replication. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, so these are really important licenses, guys. Okay, so each and every, like of course, to be honest, we don't have to know about everything. We do whichever the license that you use in your environment, you will talk about it. So that's no problem. So but now here what I will do is just to let you know, here you can see after the licensing part. Okay, what licensing options are available in Splunk Enterprise? Okay, just for your understanding. Okay, see, one more thing, licensing is not your problem. Okay, if you are working in a project, your management, your manager, or any people, I mean, anyone working in the environment, they will take care of extending the license. But since we are learning, it is important for us to know what is licensing. Okay, Splunk offers both perpetual and term license for Splunk Enterprise. A perpetual license is a one-time license fee free that grants you a definite right to use software for as long as you comply with the terms of the license, which you are allowed to lose a specific time period, usually a year, during you must stop using software for purchase new license. Splunk also offers multi-year term license options for customers. Instead, a longer term license. Now what happens, they've just given you, you can just go through it. I'm sure you'll be able to understand what happens if you have a term license, what happens if you have an annual license. Okay, so these are basically if in case you are using it for personal use, because anyway we have Splunk Enterprise, which is a free license for 60 days. Okay, whichever we have installed, right, the free license, it is for 60 days. Apart from that, in case organizations will be using Splunk Enterprise for the commercial purpose, because it's the organization, they may have huge requirement of working the data, right? So that is how they work. Okay, now what I will do next is I will show you how actually licensing works, and then what happens if the license violation is done. I was saying, I was talking about your search will be blocked, blah blah, right? So how it happens, what is exactly licensing point, and we will try and understand more. So since this is more theoretical today, so I would want to take it. I don't want to that do it today. So we'll talk about more in licensing, and I will show you Splunk front end also in the next session when we meet. I have Splunk. Uh, I think all of you have Splunk already in your machines. Henry, if you do not have, I would request you to please install Splunk in your laptop, so that I will show you tomorrow how Splunk actually works in the front end, how setting works, how you search the data, what is logs, what is index. Okay, everything that we can call it as Splunk GUI, graphical user interface. Okay, people call it as front end of Splunk, or they can also call it as GUI, graphical user interface, or a couple of them calls as UI, user interface. So it all depends. So but however, we will talk about more in the next session on Splunk GUI, how it actually works in real time and how it works in the projects. So that we will discuss in the next class, not today, because this is more theoretical. I don't want to talk about it today. So we'll catch up in the next session. Until then, that's all for today. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we are good to stop for today. And if you're dropping off, I would request Henry to do that, whichever I was talking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So we done?
yeah, we're done. We're done. Yeah, we're done for
Okay.
today. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. We'll meet tomorrow. Yeah, thanks.
All right.